This is the Radio Shack TRS-80 Model 100. One of the first computers I ever had access to thanks to my grandfather, and arguably one of the earliest truly portable computing devices out there. It's from 1983, but this video is not about this computer. This video is about its spiritual successor, the DevTerm. This is from ClockworkPi in 2022. So what is it? It is a little portable Linux computer. It runs on a Raspberry Pi platform, and currently this version is running Ubuntu, and it is a great little computer. Let's talk about some of the features before we actually turn it on. One, it's got a nice giant screen, as you can see here. It's actually a double wide, specifically designed for people that like to code, use the terminal program, and have side-by-side windows. It also has a very small 65% keyboard, as you can see here. It's a little small for my man hands, but it actually is quite functionable. It also has a D-pad and game buttons here, so if you're playing any emulators, it's perfect for that. And it has a little BlackBerry trackball right here that allows you to have a mouse with mouse buttons all integrated into the keyboard. It's very cool. On the front, we've got the power switch. We've got the SD card or trans flash slot. This is where your operating system lives. So once you put it in there, you shouldn't have to touch it. I've got a 32 gig card in there. On the side, we have USB-A, USB-C for charging, and a headphone jack. A nice surprise. On the other side, we have two USB ports. And then on the back, we have an expansion port. And this is kind of cool. They've built basically a port on the back of the motherboard so that you can actually plug in accessories. It actually comes with a printer. This is actually just a roll of printer thermal paper, like you see here. And this plugs into the back. We'll show that to you in a minute once we boot it all up. And you can actually print almost anything on the thermal printer. No ink needed. This also has probably one of the nicest packaging I've ever seen on an open source product that you put together yourself. It has a beautiful box. Everything was laid out in nice trays. It comes with a beautiful manual that explains all of the steps to assemble it. No soldering is required. It's just all snap fit, very simple. A lot of the nuts and bolts in a traditional computer come in the form of plastic nuts and bolts that actually come on these little trays, not unlike your old school model car kits from back in the day. Very fun to assemble, very quick to assemble. So let's take a look at the back of it now. On the back side, this particular one that I have here, this is the A04 edition with the transparent back. So you can actually see sort of the back. You can see through the main board. There's a big fan here. This is where the expansion port is. And this is the battery compartment. It actually doesn't come with any batteries. You have to supply your own. These are 18650s. These are very commonly found in flashlights, big heavy duty flashlights. I actually got these on Amazon, very inexpensive to get. And depending on the size, they might be a little snug to fit into this compartment. So make sure you know how big your batteries are before you place that order. But surprisingly, it still all fits. On the side, you might have noticed these little knobs. These little knobs are basically what holds it all together. And they easily just come apart, and you just rotate them, and then you can pull the screen apart if you need to do any kind of servicing on the inside. This main board comes with basically a big slot for the GPU, and the GPU will vary depending on which model you purchase from ClockworkPi. And I have the A04 edition, which is kind of in the middle of the spectrum. I wasn't planning to do anything super taxing with this, so I sort of went with the middle tier as far as the processor goes. But so far, it's been a great little machine. So let's power it on and show you how it works. So now we've booted up to the desktop, and you can sort of see the little menu bar at the top here. You can also see how slowly the mouse moves with this little BlackBerry trackball. But you can see here, my username is CPI, ClockworkPi. I've got volume controls here. I've got my Wi-Fi, got Bluetooth, and this is a battery indicator. So this wasn't a fully charged setup, 72%, got about 5 hours roughly. If you use the printer or any other sort of heavy draw things, it will dramatically change your battery life. Also, it depends on the type of battery you have installed. I have, my 18650s are 3000 milliamp hours, so 6000 milliamp hours worth of battery life gives me roughly about 8 to 10 hours depending on what kind of activities I'm doing with it. You've got some other little things here, the date and time, and we come over here and we see the applications. The big thing that I found that was kind of surprising is the amount of software that actually comes pre-installed with this Ubuntu installation from ClockworkPi. And so you get everything from, your terminal emulator, you get a file manager, a mail reader, a web browser, but then you also get all these other accessories, a bunch of development programs, even some games. Although I installed Minecraft, and I'll show you how I did that in a little minute here. Graphic programs, so document viewers, you want to look at photos and images that you download. There's also LibreOffice, which is basically the open source equivalent of Microsoft Office. It comes pre-installed, and so you actually have all the things you could want to be able to do Word documents, spreadsheets, etc. All already preloaded. There's also some multimedia players and some other apps. The one thing that I did do early on that I found on the forums was installed the Pi App Store. That makes it really easy to actually be able to go in and to sort of pick from a bunch of libraries that should, for the most part, work with this. The challenge with this is that we're dealing with a custom GPU, custom CPU, and kind of a strange display configuration. So not everything's going to work the first time. This may involve you having to go into the forums to find out if your particular application that you're interested in can work or how to make it work. And a lot of people have been posting very detailed tutorials in the forums about how to install a specific thing, like RetroArch, which is actually one of the main emulator platforms that allow you to play all the retro game consoles, arcade machines, etc. So under accessories is Pi Apps, and that's the App Store. So I'm going to click on that. And then here you have a shopping list of all kinds of different apps. And this is actually where I installed Minecraft from. So you just double tap on that and it'll show you all the available packages that the App Store has in the gaming section. And there's a couple different versions. So Minecraft Pi, which is the modded version, is there. And there's Tetris, and there's a bunch of other games. This is just whatever is currently on in the library for Pi apps, and you can certainly install lots of other things just from either the command line or from the browser and go to GitHub or wherever that particular application or game is stored, download the files, and follow the instructions for installing it under Linux. The interesting thing is just the sheer variety of types of things that you can get for this device. I haven't tried it yet, but you can actually install Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So because there's USB ports and Linux does support webcams, you could, in theory, use this to do your daily calls that we all have to do these days. And if you want other browsers, it comes with Chromium as sort of the default browser, but there's also Firefox and then a bunch of other apps that can be used in that same space as well. So here's Teams, Telegram, Thunderbird, Transmission, WhatsApp, Zoom. Pretty cool stuff. But we're gonna get out of here and let's go into Minecraft. And there we go. So I can start the game, select my world, and away we go. Now, because this is a strange configuration as far as the display is, you can still maximize it and it will auto-update for that purpose, which is really cool, kind of cool. So one of the interesting little features of this is it has a headphone jack, but it also has two tiny little speakers that are hiding underneath the case here. And these are tiny little rectangles that actually are just literally taped into place when you do your assembly, and they actually just touched underneath the keyboard to get their connectivity. So it's a very interesting design, and I'm going to just scroll down here to one of my videos. Hi, I'm John, and today we're going to give you sort of a rundown of all things Cricut. I'm a maker and I love making stuff, and Cricut's been in my house for over a decade now. I have one of the original Cricut Explorers, but today we're going to show you some of the latest machines that they have and some examples of what each machine can do and why you might want to think about getting one yourself or as a gift for. The main purpose a lot of people would probably buy this is if they're code monkeys. They like to go in, write some code, use the terminal to install software. You can have full screen or a split screen like this, and then you can just basically have your two windows. This is also where you would also install a lot of different software packages depending on where you're getting them from and what kind of stuff you're interested into. Overall, I guess in summary, I think this is a great little package. It starts at around 250 US or 300 Canadian roughly. It included free shipping when I ordered it. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but fantastic little device, super fun to play with, and I just think it's a great little nostalgic reminder to my beloved Model 100, except you can actually have a full color screen on this and all the bells and whistles of a modern Linux-based desktop. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so you'll be notified of any future videos. Also, if you have any questions about the DevTerm, please leave them in the comments below and we'll get to them as soon as we can.